me help you?
Yes, how do I?
Sorry. Okay. Well, I'm sticking out. I'm going to get some more paper in a second. Okay. And where would you have a pocket otherwise? So we'll just try with you. I dropped.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Okay.
Hello? Hi.
Yeah, you're living.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. Thank you.
Let's turn off.
Hi. Oh, that's really close.
Can we clear the stage, please?
Now we already
Listing 1, 2.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the bold and the beautiful, the glitz and the glamour, the pop idols of science. Welcome you all to the 2025 South African National Finals for FameLab. We'd like to give a very special welcome to all of you who managed to join us in person, but also all of you who are joining us online. My name is Tsiamo Lekhwale, and I'm very delighted to be your host tonight. But I'm not on my own. I'm with the ever so handsome Dr. Nehemiah Latola. Nay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As Tiamo said, I am Nehemiah Latola. What a privilege to be here, Tiamo. Not so long ago, me and you had our little tiff. Me online, you in person, right here on the stage. And of course, Tiamo forgot to say that we are both international winners, separate years, but international winners. So you are in good hands this evening. Of course, FameLab is a fantastic platform that can just skyrocket your career as a young scientist in the correct way, as we've seen for Tiamo and myself. We want to remind you tonight that the event is being live streamed on the SASTA NRF YouTube channel. And if you would like to join the conversation online, please use the hashtag FameLab. And specifically, if you are on Instagram or any other platform, look for NRF SASTA and Jive Media Africa. Tag us. We would love to share your words of encouragement, your questions, and your messages live and widely. Right, Tiamo?
Absolutely, Nay. For those of you who may not know, FameLab started all the way back in 2005. It began in Cheltenham in the UK. And since 2013, Jive Media Africa has managed it in partnership with the NRF SASTA. They've been doing great ever since. And annually, we run this amazing competition and meet a lot of science communicators who skyrocket their careers in science communication.
Yes, thousands of young South Africans have taken part into FameLab, and we are incredibly proud that we have 2 international winners and hopefully more coming, right? Hopefully more coming.
Yep.
We want to also recognize Yolanda Ngobo online, who is our last year's runner-up and fan favorite or People's Choice Award. So please give her a round of applause for joining us online. Of course, tonight's champion doesn't walk away only with the cash prize, but they also get the opportunity to go and represent South Africa in the heart of science at CERN in Switzerland. So a large prize to vie for.
Absolutely. All right, so let's get down to business. This is how it's going to work tonight. We are joined by 10 finalists whom each represents an organization. They went through heats in their respective organizations, and so we're brought here to do the semifinals. And finally, tonight, we are going to see them showcase their science in the finals. They've done extensive training during 3 whole days of a masterclass. But what will it be that they are judged on? It's the 3 C's. So they are going to engage us on their different research and their science using clarity, charisma, and content. But not just that. At the end of the night, we are not only announcing 1 winner, we are also going to announce 2 runner-ups. And just as Nay has said, the winner will go on to represent South Africa in CERN. But that's not all. The audience online, as well as everybody in person, also gets to have a voice. At the end of tonight, we are going to vote for our favorite, the audience vote of who they loved. We are further going to be given an opportunity to engage with tonight's speakers. So whilst the judges deliberate, we are going to get an opportunity to have conversations and ask the speakers questions. So grab a pen and pay attention. As they talk, take notes of what it is that grabbed your attention and what you'd like to explore further. But before we even get there, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome onto stage Dr. Mamueletsi Musia, the Managing Director of NRF SASTA, to welcome us tonight and to help us understand a little bit more about how important a night such as this is. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Musia.
Just in case you thought I'll have the same energy, sorry to disappoint you. I know, I see why Tiamo is a repeat offender. Just about every year, we have her grace our stage. I must say that Jive Media is very cruel to you guys. They had to bring the best of the best just so that they usher you to the stage. And I'm sure you are sitting there and you are thinking, so these ones are the international winners. They were once me. Yes, they were once you. They once stood here and they dazzled us with their simplification of science. And then not only did they win on the stage, but then they went and represented the country. So they have won the Olympiads of science communication and they came with a medal. And because of that, we cannot help but use them over and over again. Welcome to FameLab 2025. It's a special welcome as well to the NRF, the National Research Foundation. Today is yet another day where we get to hear science communicated in a simpler way. There's a time when I was invited, I can't remember why we had to go to Parliament, but there was this one guy who wanted to have science communicators who were going to communicate with policymakers. And he was saying, so I want these people who can communicate science. And at the time, I think it was just during COVID, and we were still doing FameLab online. And I got to take out the videos and just to show him some of the things that we get to do and how science is communicated in what? Do you guys have 3 minutes? In 3 minutes. And he was like, he was wowed. And he could just understand what it is that we do in the lab, yet we are able to simplify it in a manner that even a non-scientist is able to get. And since then, I think at the time I had not had the opportunity to sit here and actually observe and participate in the competitions themselves. But I was wowed since then, and I have been following. And it's actually very interesting that we get to have international winners as well. So I'm prophesying, and you're gonna say, prophesy, Mama. I am prophesying that out of this cohort here, we must have another international win. And Nehemiah has already said that we want another international win. We came very close last year, like this close. So I said, you must say prophesy. That's how these prophecies happen. That's how they happen. You say prophesy. That's how they happen. So I was asked to talk about why, as the NRF, we are supporting this initiative and why we see it fit to partner with Jive Media and just, you know, do a lot more with regards to FameLab. I don't know how many of you know of the science engagement strategy and how, as a country, we are pushing science engagement and making sure that we communicate our science to the people. But so the science engagement strategy has 4 strategic aims, but there is one very important one that is related to what we are doing here today. And that strategic aim talks to providing science communication skills to researchers or equipping researchers with science communication skills. When you are, I'm assuming a lot of you are either doing your master's, your PhD, or you are in your early careers as researchers. During that phase, you are trained with regards to scientific communication. So you go to conferences, you know how you must dress, you know how you must present your work, you are told how to present your graphs and. You're told how to address the audience and make sure that you do not dilute the science. And people are able to get, but at that time you're talking to your peers. So by the time you finish your PhD, you might have done 3-4 scientific conferences, and you're very comfortable presenting your work to your peers, to scientists who are talking the same language. My friend on this side, she's a biophotonics. So imagine she's in a biophotonics conference and she's just talking all of these biophotonics thingies, and then that's light and don't. They understand. She does not even have to explain what biophotonics is. Now, imagine a situation where I ask you to accompany me. It is National Science Week 2026. We are launching it in whatever province, and we are in your university. And because the theme on that day or in that year, it's very similar to the work that you're doing. And then the university then asks you to come and talk about your work. The audience for National Science Week launch typically would be a lot of primary, high school, like maybe grade. So we'd like to influence the grade 9s to take mathematics in grade 10. So it would be that age group, those ones who need to decide. So imagine now you have 1,000 of those, and you have to talk about your research. Now the audience is completely different. One, you have a challenge of age. 2, you have a challenge of they still don't get the science thingy. And 3, you are now talking biophotonics, and you have to make it relatable to these young people so that when you get out of the stage, they say, oh, actually, I want to do this thing. I've since learned that this is a skill. Okay, so there's some of us who can communicate, you're very comfortable on stage. And then there's some of us who are taught to communicate the scientific way. But then there is this other thing that is called science communication. You now need to communicate in the simplest way possible without losing the message. When you have finished your 3 minutes, I still need to know that you were talking science. You were not just talking English. This was science that you were describing to me. Why is that important for us to do that? I've spoken about one of the 4 strategic aims of the science engagement strategy. The very first one, in terms of the science engagement strategy, the strategic aim says that we need to make science relatable, accessible, and. So oftentimes, so when I was going to school, class 1 was the science class. When we were doing subject choices in grade 10, you are the great people. When we're doing subject choices in standard 8, class 1 was the science. And class 1 was the top 3 in the different classes in the grade 9s. So like, the top 3, top 4, top 5s, we knew we were going into. So it has always been that subject for the intelligent ones. And when you talk science and you talk mathematics, people always assume, you have to be very intelligent. And as scientists, we have always wanted to perpetuate that thing about us being intelligent, And then because we do that, we lose the people that we want for them to do science and mathematics. Now, when we come and talk about these bombastic words and then they get lost as we are trying to interest them in these very exciting things that we do, they say, no, it's too difficult. So we want to get you guys to be able to come into a space and say, oh no, it's young learners. Let me take it a little bit lower. Oh no, it is parliamentarians. I can just take it a little bit, So part of what we do in terms of science communications training is one to help you to be able to communicate your science in a manner that you're able to reach your audience. So we have a number of audiences, or we defined a number of audiences in our strategy, and there's like 11 of them. And if you are in a room and you've got 5 of the 11, you need to be able to balance and you touch all of them. Not only that, we want to make science so relatable that at any given moment, I should be able to say, we have secured space on SABC. I don't know what is the latest youth talk show. And they are discussing something that is relevant to your space, and we want you to come and communicate. You should be able to get to a level that there is a gogo who is sitting with their 12-year-old watching you. They should be able to hear what you're saying. Ideally, a lot of you should be able to even talk your work in your indigenous language. And yes, I know it is very difficult. I still don't know what crystallization is in Sesotho, and I always make that example. I don't know what it is. I can explain what crystallization is, but there is no word that says crystallization. So think about that as well as you mature in your science communication growth, a trajectory. And I'm hoping that we're not seeing you for the last time. We will be, calling upon you every time we want to do these things. I want you to be my friend and to be Sasta's friend, because we want to have a lot more of those who are able to communicate science in a simpler and relatable way. As I conclude, as South Africa, we do very good science. We are very good in terms of the work that we do, but we don't get to profile it. We don't get to talk about it. We only talk about it in our journals, and sometimes you find us even our pictures being on international journal covers. But I want us to get to a point where we are able to brag about the work that we do. But we can only do that if we don't only brag to ourselves, but we are bragging to the community at large. Just as I conclude, the fact that you are sitting here, the 10 of you, you are winners already. You've made it. I don't know how many you've trumped for you to be here. So you need to actually celebrate, because you've earned the bragging rights to call yourself the finalist of FameLab 2025. Wear that one. You've earned it. But now the problem is there's 10 of you, and we want that one who is going to bring us that international thingy, because they said there's only 2 of them so far. So we need number 3. So unfortunately, out of the 10 of you, we're going to have to just have that one. Okay, so we'll do top 3. But okay, that one is the one that is going to go and grab it and bring it back home. Just in case you thought you could buy the judges, you know who were the judges last year, and you thought, I'm going to bribe them. Jive Media has just decided, we don't do it that way. We're just going to confuse them. So we've got new judges today, Prof. Mtunzi, Mafbazoba. Are they going to find me if I don't add the other surname? I knew her as Prof. Mtunzi, so no, Dr. Mtunzi. Now she's elevated. Prof. Mtunzi Mafu, Mgufa, rather, sorry. Udumile is one of us here, and yesterday I got to know her other name, but I will not use it. Mrs. Silepe, who is representing Mureki. Do you guys know who Mureki is? You don't know who Mureki is? Hey, you guys. Anyway, Goki is representing the DSTI. They are the ones who are actually pushing our science engagement mandate. I will actually be asking to be fired if I do not acknowledge my boss. Thank you very much, Dr. Moche, for just coming and seeing some of the things that we get to do. Some of us, when we say we are going to work, we get to do some of these things. So thank you very much for your support. We appreciate you. And for the rest of you, thank you for coming. Otherwise, it would have been such a boring event with just the 10 plus the judges. So the friends who are rooting for all of you, thank you so much for making this event even more livelier. And for those who are watching online, please comment and Baraking, comment, like all of those and share so that we have a lot more people who are watching this. Thank you so much.
Guys, I know Dr. Misia said they can only be one, but I'm sure she meant no pressure. Ne? Another round of applause for Dr. Misia. Thank you very much, Doctor, for that inspiring welcome and for reminding us why initiatives such as FameLab are so important to us. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let us meet the people who perhaps have the most difficult task of the night, choosing that 1 out of the 10. Nay?
Yes. We have a plethora, 3 minds together making this decision. Our first talker, our first judge is affectionately known as Koki, Mrs. Selepe, who currently holds the post of Deputy Director's Science Promotion at the National Department for Science, Technology and Innovation in Pretoria. She's a qualified mathematics and physical science teacher and served at the Department of Education of the Gauteng province for over 10 years, continuing to serve the government for another 20 years, with whose body? And is still serving under the DSTI Science Promotion Directorate. The work she does includes providing policy and strategic leadership for science engagement programs all across the country. So, Judge Koki, a question for you. What are you most excited about this evening?
I'd like to hear science explained in a level that I like most, a level that is for everybody, not only the knowledge holder, not only the scientist, or not only the researcher. So I'm just so excited that I'm just going to relax and enjoy the stories. Thank you.
I'm not sure how much relaxation you're going to do having to score them. Up next, ladies and gentlemen, Dumila Mlambo is no stranger to science and research communication. He gathered his deep understanding of the unique dynamics of this field from his current role as corporate communications manager at NRF and previous one as public relations manager at the SA Medical Research Council. His over a decade of experience includes communications and marketing positions at Stellenbosch University, Northwest University, and Vaal University of Technology, where he was the head of Department Corporate Communications. He holds a degree and honors in communications, is pursuing an MA in the same field. And what he forgot to mention is that in his childhood, he was able to pick up 150 kilograms of weight. I'll let him tell you what that was in. Dumi, in your view, what makes a science communicator truly stand out?
Good evening, everyone. I'm not sure about that 150 kilogram that I've picked up growing up. Look, I'm a communications professional through and through. So for me, language and storytelling means everything to me. So for me, a true science communicator is one who's able to use the art of storytelling to really put your message across, to sell your science, to make it more, I guess, relatable across different, age groups and. So that's what for me really makes a science communicator stand out. Thanks.
A round of applause. The judges are doing a lot this evening. I think the judges' prestige is very high. And last but not least, not to be outdone, we are honored to welcome Professor Patience Mtunzi Kufa, a trailblazer in photonics and biophotonics, a distinguished photonics expert with a PhD in physics from the University of St. Andrews in the UK. She leads the Center of Photonics at the University of South Africa and is recognized internationally for her pioneering work in biophotonics. Prof. Mtunzi Kufa's work has led to multiple patents, publications in top journals, and technology demonstrations, earning her numerous awards, including the Order of Mapungubwe, right? in bronze. And for all of us who learned about it, it's the equivalent of knighthood in South Africa, right? As the youngest recipient of this order. So a round of applause for Prof. She has several other national and international honors, such as a TED Fellow, a Tech Women's Award, the DSI South Africa Women in Science Awards, and the prestigious TW Kambule NSTF Award. Prof, for a question, from your perspective, what do you think is the biggest challenge for young scientists as they attempt to communicate their science?
Good evening, everyone. It's good to be here. I think the biggest, I would say, barrier is maybe the fact that they are taught in Latin. That's the first barrier. So it's the language barrier. Because if you are taught in a language that you don't dream in, it makes things like extra difficult to understand and to articulate. So as scientists, most of the textbooks are in Latin. Yes, it's in English, but look at the scientific terms. Most of the time, they are in Latin. So that makes it very difficult. And then the other thing is, when we are in the labs, like Dr. Misia was relating just now, when we are in the labs or in conferences or wherever, we are taught to not dilute our science. It must be as accurate as possible. So that makes it a barrier when it comes to communicating it to the layman. So those are the two things that I think are the biggest challenges.
Sage words from the professor. Give her a round of applause. Tiamo, over to you.
Another round of applause for our judges. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the moment we've all been waiting for. We are now going to give an ear to the people you actually came here to listen to, not Nay and myself. First up, we've got the Alexandra-born Batsiba Rasikanye, a microbiology scholar at Northwest University who studies pathogenic Candida. Is that Latin, Prof? In surface water to improve detection and removal for safer drinking water. A radio presenter and STEM communicator, she breaks barriers, shares inspiring science stories, and champions research that serves people while advancing public health and water equity. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm round of applause for Batsiba.
Hello, it's on. Can I start? We live in a world where tiny invisible stalkers are constantly watching and plotting to invade our bodies. These microscopic foes are yeasts. And no, I'm not talking about the ones we use to bake bread or make black label beer. I'm talking about the ones from the Candida family, notorious for causing illness in individuals with compromised immune systems. What's fascinating and a bit unsettling is that these yeasts are commonly found in our mouths and female genitalia as harmless flora. Harmless. But some rogue members of the family, such as your Candida glabrata, albicans, and auris, have evolved into masters of evasion, supervillains. They've learned to hide in plain sight in our water systems, from our rivers and dams to wastewater treatment plants, evading detection like ghosts. Our current methods are no match for them. We're still relying on outdated indicators like E. coli to test for contamination. It's like searching for a specific suspect with a vague description. To make matters worse, Candida has developed resistance to antifungal treatment. It's like they're wearing a cloak of invisibility, rendering our arsenal useless. But here's the twist. Candida plays a crucial role in removing pollutants from our waters, meaning we simply can't just kill and eradicate them without consequences. Now, my research aims to uncover why Candida species are pathogenic and why they're resistant to antifungal treatments. By studying their genetic makeup, I'll be able to identify the key factors responsible for their resistance and pathogenicity. My findings are key to identifying the right indicator organism to track yeast contamination in our water. Ultimately, I'll be able to develop a new detection system to track and remove them from our waters without killing them or harming the environment. That way, we can take back power using the SMART approach. Search for their source, track their movements, adapt new strategies, and revolutionize water safety. Let's protect our waters. Let's protect our people. It's time to shine a light on these invisible enemies and develop new strategies to defeat them. The stakes are high, but with cutting-edge research, we can stay one step ahead from these microscopic supervillains. Thank you.
Our first speaker, tall order. Of course, she's exposing those supervillains of bacteria. Judge Koki.
Thank you, Badziba. I liked how you explained the yeast in terms of what we know from the kitchen.
Oh.
But my question to you, how does this yeast now get to the water? Because I heard it's from the body, the Candida, and now it's in the water.
Okay, so as I said, Candida usually found in our mouths. Oh, can you guys hear me? Yes, usually found in our mouths, and female genitalia. We all use the toilet, we all brush our teeth, right? So it obviously ends up in the waters.
Thank you. Give Batsiba a wonderful round of applause. Batsiba, you can take a seat.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're on to our next speaker, who is Nasipi Paliso from Walter Sisulu University. She grew up as a child of deaf adults. Nasipe developed a passion for accessibility that now drives her work as a junior lecturer at the University of Walter Sisulu. She creates assistive SASL signing avatars, innovative tools that breaks barriers, preserve language, and expand access to education, healthcare, and opportunities. Your hands in mine, Nasipi.
Imagine needing a doctor, going to a school or applying for that job, but nobody understands the language that you speak. For millions of deaf and hard of hearing people in South Africa, this is their daily reality. Even though South African Sign Language has been made the 12th official language, deaf people still face major challenges. Why? Public services from hospitals, schools, they still operate exclusively using spoken languages. Qualified South African Sign Language interpreters are not enough. How can we fix this? Because deaf people are often left out from the critical conversations about their health, education, even about their rights. We can solve this problem with my technology. My research is about bridging the communication barrier between the hearing and the deaf by creating assistive South African Sign Language signing avatars. Okay, think of these avatars as your animated digital interpreters. They can show South African Sign Language on your screens anytime, anywhere. Using special tools, I was able to train and teach few basic signs to these avatars, such as hello, thank you, see you later. I did not do this alone. By working very closely with the deaf community in Umtata, so that I can ensure that these avatars, they sign accurately and respectfully. Where are these avatars going to be? These avatars can be in your public service websites, hospitals, even in ATMs. Then that means deaf people have access to information services just like everybody else. So that means this technology now, it's not just about bringing and bridging communication. It is also about preserving South African Sign Language and also show that deaf communication, it matters. Now you might have a question. What about the emojis? Are they helping us with communication? Emojis are simple pictures with no grammar, no cultural mannerism, and also they can never build a full language, just like how an avatar would. I hope in 3 minutes, I've been able to show you that this research is not just about technology, it's about human dignity, bridging the gap, and equal access, and also using innovation to build a more inclusive South Africa, I think.
Another round of applause for Nasipi, teaching us there that science communication is a vehicle that we can use to not leave anyone behind. Dumi?
Thank you so much. What a beautiful presentation. I think the fact that your topic sort of ticks a couple of boxes for me is the first thing. One, to bridge the communication gap, but secondly, to preserve sign language. Maybe my question for you is not necessarily about the topic itself, but to ask just one question. If you had enough funding right now, where would you take your research next? Where would you take this?
Okay, if I had funding right now, I would make it more practical now, because now it's in paper. It has just been tested in few prototypes. Now, bringing it to reality, also maybe putting it also in our university, higher education training, because we do have deaf students. Now, let's make a day-to-day conversation work. Now, we are now seeing if the work practically, does it work? Can it assist the education environment? Can it assist the communication in campus? Is the campus accessible to deaf people?
Thank you so much.
Another round of applause for Nasipi. And now we take it all the way from the Eastern Cape and we're bringing it back home to the Gauteng province. Ofense Matlakola, a graduate student at Diverts University, explores how quarks, I wonder if those are ducks, lose energy in high energy particle collisions, investigating the role of mass in fundamental physics. But beyond the lab, she channels her creativity into dressmaking and do-it-yourself crafts, blending scientific curiosity with hands-on artistry. Ladies and gentlemen, very warm welcome to Fente.
Can you all hear me? Okay. Can I start? Well, hello. I am here to talk to you about particle physics, where collisions are by no means an accident. But I am counting on your imagination for this to work. Imagine you're at a costume party, and then two people bump into each other really hard. Boom! Then there's confetti flying everywhere. This is what happens in a particle collider. But instead of two people, we deliberately smash together two protons to break them open and see what comes out. It's like a party of particles, except no one brings snacks, and almost everyone explodes. What about the confetti pieces? These represent tiny, tiny particles we call quarks and gluons. These quarks and gluons are the building blocks that make up everything in the universe. Now let's focus on a specific confetti piece, a quark. As this quark flies away from the crash, it throws off more confetti itself. But how it does this depends on its mass. If it's a light or not so massive quark, then it's like a toddler with no coordination, throwing confetti in all directions. But if it's a heavy or massive quark, then it simply chooses not to throw off confetti in the direction that it's heading. This leads to a creation of a cone-shaped space where nothing lands. So all confetti is thrown around this cone and not inside. We call it the dead cone. So in this world, even particles respect personal space if you're massive enough. Now, in the actual collision, the cone is not this big and definitely not that big because the particles themselves are so tiny that it's hard to see. And so we built a fancy scientific camera around the collision point in order to see what comes out of these particle collisions. And I'm sure you would agree that it would be difficult to spot this empty cone in this confetti mess, right? Worse, it doesn't end here. There are more complicated processes that follow after this point. And these processes sort of change the structure of the mess, making it even more difficult to spot the dead cone. That is where I come in. In my research, I'm trying to find the most effective way of looking through the mess. Sort of like finding a clever trick for undoing the structure change so that I can go in backwards in search for this dead cone. You might be thinking, isn't it crazy to create this scientific mess just to look for cones where nothing happens? Well, this is not the only thing we learn about quarks. And there are other types of particles we study as well. Why? This is important because every little thing we learn about these particles helps us better understand our universe. Remember, they make up everything in it, including you. And yes, you can learn about particle physics at a party. Thank you.
Give another round of applause. Mixing two worlds that aren't so closely related, party and physics, Doctor.
Precisely, not only just party and physics, but you are mixing a variety of disciplines, the arts, the fashion, and science. I love it.
Thank
It's
you.
one of the most important things to do where the trends are pointing as well, that we need to go interdisciplinary. That's exactly what you've done. I love that. My question for you is very easy. I want you to tell us, aside from this stage, where else do you communicate your science?
Apart from scientific,
FameLab
Yes.
and stages like this, where else?
So apart from scientific conferences, we had a cross-faculty postgraduate symposium at my university, and I was explaining my research to people outside the Faculty of Science.
My suggestion, also go to high schools, please. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Please, a round of applause as you take your seat, Jafense. We're going to move on and go back to the Eastern Cape. Are we volleying? Siamo, are we volleying east, west? We're moving on to Lungelihle Dlamini, who is a master's student at Rhodes University and is passionate about fresh water conservation. Her research on microinvertebrates examine how they colonize plastics versus natural substances, revealing river health across pollution gradients. Through science and storytelling, she raises awareness of water sustainability and urges the need to protect South Africa's river. A round of applause for Lungelihle.
Can you hear me? You see the river that you pass by every day. It is not just water. It includes tiny organisms called water bugs, microinvertebrates. They clean our waters, feed fish, and help scientists like me figure out how healthy the river is. So imagine you're this water bug looking for a home. You, instead of staying in stones and plants, there's suddenly plastics. What do? Do you stay on plastics or do you now stay on natural substances? So that is where my big question becomes. Do water bugs stay in plastics or not? And that is where the problem actually begins. To find out, I did not just wander around. I actually collected plastics and stones and went to the river, put them next to each other for days and waited for the water bugs to actually decide for themselves, where do they actually want to stay? Do you want to stay in the stones or the natural substrates? And to find out, that is where we can be able to compare the results and solve the problem. So the problem is plastics are a major issue. So if we do not try and solve this issue, it not only affects you and me, but everyone. Because if we do not attack plastics, they affect the water that we drink, the food that we eat, and also the children that we still have hope that they'll still live in the rivers. And now the big question becomes, if now water bugs stay in plastics, what do we do? Because if water bugs now stay on plastics, it means that we have compromised the system so worse that now we're forcing nature to adjust. So meaning that if we're forcing nature to adjust, not only do we struggle, also the water bugs struggle. So now the question is, do not just think that it's just a water bug or just a plastic bottle. It is one bottle at a time. Because if the littlest tiny bugs are now forced to adapt to our plastic bottles, then what about the future we're hoping to leave behind? Take action now. It takes one bottle at a time. Thank you.
Showing us there that we are kicking bugs out of their natural homes. Comments to the judges?
Thank you, Lungelihle.
Thank
A
you.
lovely presentation. Friends to the environment. I like that. And then how would you take up this? Because it's something that we really need to send it out there.
Mhm.
So what is your take in terms of now making it an awareness campaign?
Mhm.
Do you have an idea?
Yes, it is a big project. So far, I'm the one in a few that is actually battling this issue and trying to answer this question because the environment is changing and our systems are changing. So we're going from what do we do with the plastic bottles now? Do they now become part of the environment or they're compromising the system? So that is where now I go back to the source. Do we now have to enforce Polluter Pays Act? Do we now have to enforce recycle, reuse, and reduce? So that is what my study is aiming to answer. The big question is, are now plastics part of the environment? If not, then what must we supposed to do about it? Thank you.
Another round of applause for Lungeli, sir. And now from Rhodes University all the way to the city of Oaks. Luther Chipembere is not your typical economist. On one hand, he works at the intersection of internalization and research capacity development at the African Doctoral Academy. On the other hand, he uses science diplomacy to connect research with global dialogue. Complementing this, his doctoral research applies artificial intelligence and strategic foresight to global challenges, including food security, generating insights that inform policy and practice. His career reflects a commitment to working across disciplines, bridging practice and research in ways that create impact beyond traditional boundaries. On the FameLab stage, he will show how science speaks, turning complexity into clarity and ideas into impact. Ladies and gentlemen, Luther Chipembere.
Okay, am I audible? By the time you're done listening to my 3-minute talk, about 1,000 people around the world are going to experience severe and life-threatening hunger, and more than 50 are actually going to die from hunger-related causes. And yet, evidence has consistently shown us there is more than enough food to feed everyone. As a matter of fact, the United Nations' most recent report on the state of global food and nutrition security clearly demonstrates that food production and reserves are adequate to feed up to 10 billion people, which is more than the current global population. This alone raises a very important but uncomfortable question. How is something such as hunger, which is seemingly quite preventable, still able to claim so many lives? Well, according to leading experts in food security, the problem is not food itself. It's more so about timing. One of the main reasons is our failure to accurately predict when and where hunger will strike before it's too late. And this is where my research comes in. I use machine learning, which is a type of artificial intelligence, AI, to detect the early warning signs of hunger using historical data. I want you to think of machine learning as a method that is used to train your computer to process and understand complex and large volumes of real-world information and data. In my case, I use machine learning to build what I call a digital superbrain, which is super fast, never forgets, doesn't get tired, and most importantly, it can be used to look into the future and warn us about the incoming dangers of hunger. So I trained this digital brain using data from all over the world, from locations that have experienced severe hunger, looking at things such as rainfall patterns, drought, food prices, conflict, and even war. With each new piece of information and data that I feed into this digital brain, it keeps getting smarter and faster at recognizing the signs of hunger, making it a powerful tool for decision-making. Here's where my research is unique. It's not about waiting for hunger to make headlines. It's about predicting it before it strikes. It's about empowering your policymakers to make the right decisions on time in order to save lives. Thank you.
Another round of applause for Luther. We are moving over to Judge Dumile. Luther's, of course, sounding the alarm on hunger.
That's quite a big one. Well done, Luther. Beautiful presentation. I think over and above the clarity of your presentation, I like the fact that you really come across as quite passionate about your topic, and you sound like you've gone above and beyond to really, work on it. Of course, we all know that artificial intelligence is quite evolving. What we know today might be different tomorrow when we wake up. Now, my question to you would be, have you thought of the different types of threats to this solution? Should anything happen AI-wise, do you have some sort of a backup plan in place to make sure that we are able to detect hunger way ahead of time, over and above relying on this artificial intelligence? Did you think of the threats to AI? And if yes, what do you think would be, a backup plan? Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. That's a very timely and sometimes very sensitive topic whenever we talk about AI. So I think to start off, I just want to point out that AI is a heavily debated and contested space right now. Different people perceive it differently. Other people see it as an opportunity for change. Other people are more hesitant. We see other people who believe AI can be merged with human oversight. With that being said, like you said, AI is an ever-evolving space. And my belief as a researcher is, like most models, most traditional models, when we look at AI, we can leverage it. It's about leveraging it for positive and impactful outcomes. And this is one of the reasons why I collaborate interdisciplinary in order to incorporate the ethical considerations that are involved when we talk about AI. So it's, from my personal point of view, yes, AI is ever evolving and it does pose threats. However, I am of the belief that we can leverage this very powerful tool to address something such as important as, reaching Sustainable Development Goal number 2. If we can use it as a tool, I say let's go ahead and use it. However, we proceed with caution.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Luther.
Thank you.
Wonderful round of applause to him again. Sharpness, this needs to be investigated. Why am I always in the Eastern Cape? So some sort of prejudice. Well, I'm back in the Eastern Cape and I'm here to welcome Jackie Mukawana. Insects could help us fight invasive plants. Born in Limpopo's Dan village, Jackie is now a master's student at Rhodes University. He studies how insects and their genes can control invasive species, offering sustainable solutions that protect biodiversity, agriculture, and communities while raising awareness across South Africa. Jackie, please come forward. A round of applause to him.
Oh, God.
Shine bright like a diamond. That is what the South African ice plant would sing if it had a mouth. The ice plant, you ask? Picture this, a succulent plant that looks like it's completely covered by tiny diamonds. Yep, that's the ice plant. Because of its beauty, this sparkling crystal-covered plant has been introduced to many countries for ornamental purposes. But what people did not realize is that when this plant grows, it sucks up a lot of salt from the environment and accumulates it on its body, hence its shimmering appearance. And when it dies, it dumps all that salt back into the environment in large quantities. The result? The ground becomes too salty for other plants to survive. In Australia, areas that used to be completely covered by livestock pastures are now overrun by the ice plant. These lost pastures result in reduced livestock capacity, contributing to the global food scarcity and sky-high meat prices. They tried everything to get rid of this plant, mechanically removing it, herbicides, it always came back. That's when they started asking, what really controls the ice plant in its original home of South Africa? Natural insect enemies. And in biology, we call these biocontrol agents. Now, when I joined the ice plant project, other scientists had already identified one weevil the size of your phone's charging point to be promising for the job. But there was a catch. I found the very same weevil feeding on 3 close relatives of the ice plant. This raised concerns of potential insect doppelgangers, insects that look completely identical but have completely different genes, meaning that they do not make babies with one another. And oftentimes, such insects feed on completely different plants. We wouldn't want to ship weevils with subgroups that not only feed on the ice plant, but would also attack native plants. That's literally like you hiring a bodyguard who also attacks your friends. So I collected weevils from all 4 host plants and analyzed their DNA. I found that they do have the same genes, meaning that they do make babies with one another. I further assessed their performance in terms of feeding and reproduction across all plants and found that although they do feed on all 4 host plants, the ice plant supports their development from baby to adult far better than the other plants, rendering it their primary host plant. And in the process of supporting the insect's development, the plant dies. And that is exactly what controls the ice plant in its original home of Mzansi, Africa. And it's exactly what we hope to accomplish when we finally release these insects in the places the ice plant is problematic. So you guys, the next time you're outside and you see some of these little creepy crawlies, remember that some of the smallest creatures carry the biggest solutions to some of our biggest challenges in the world. Thank you.
Another round of applause for Jay. Using insects to deal with the salt issue. I wonder if you can't send them to that chicken store that makes the wings. Prof, any question for Jay?
Yes, Jay, I loved your energy. I love the way you engaged the audience. The more you spoke, the more I wanted to hear. And you were just captivating. Thank you for that. Now, what I want to ask you is, there's so many important research topics, including yours, by the way. So there's research priorities in South Africa, including the likes of your communicable diseases like your HIV, AIDS, TB, etc. You are engaging us about insects and genes and plants. Why did you go specifically on that area? And when it comes to your research, if there was one thing you could change, what would it be?
Thank you very much for that question. Very tricky question to answer. But I went into biological control and invasive species because I realized that, for starters, not a lot of people who look like me do it skin-wise. Yes. And also, I found it very interesting. I grew up in the rurals where you would pass rivers and you would be seeing the water covered with these plants that we don't even know where they came from. I wanted to understand why they are there, why they're persisting over there, despite the government coming back and removing them and spraying on them. So this field allowed me to actually learn more about these species, where they come from, why they're so difficult to control. And I get to be part of the people who look for sustainable ways to actually get rid of those plants in our country while actually using funding from other countries in order to gain the skills to actually protect our own country.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Another round of applause for Jackie. And now I'm being sent to the Eastern Cape. Nay, no prejudice. Ladies and gentlemen, Luto Lange, a master's student in pharmacy at Nelson Mandela University under the DSI Nanomedicine platform, researches nanotechnology to combat tumor hypoxia, a key cause of cancer therapy resistance. Inspired by a family history of cancer, Luto is driven to enhance treatment outcomes and make a lasting impact in pharmaceutics. Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to Luto.
You can hear me now? Yes. Sorry, thank you. The death of a loved one often leaves us devastated, confused, and hurting. This is not foreign to death caused by cancer. My family has been a victim of the disease for a very long time, including my late father and my younger sister, who is currently battling with the disease. According to the National Cancer Institute, it is estimated that by 2050, there will be more than 18.2 million cancer deaths per year. Now, this calls for some superhero magic. And of course, in 2025, superheroes no longer wear capes and go to Mars, but rather they wear high heels and speak at the NRF auditorium. What is cancer? Our bodies are made up of tiny blocks called cells. These allow the body to stay healthy and to perform its everyday functions. But sometimes these grow uncontrollably, and that is what we call cancer. The fast growth means outgrowing its blood supply, and therefore very little oxygen will go into the cells, and that is what we call tumor hypoxia. This medical condition causes great difficulties in cancer management as it leads to resistance to the different cancer treatments. Stats have proved that 1 in 3 cancer patients die due to the literal choking of cells because of the lack of oxygen. The primary aim of my study is to directly deliver oxygen alongside with the treatment drug to the cells that have grown uncontrollably using tiny particles called nanoparticles. These are so small that they are 100,000 times smaller than the strand of your hair. These tiny particles will act like a small car, transporting 2 very important passengers, that is Mr. Oxygen and Mrs. Treatment Drug. This car will drive in a directed manner and only stop to destroy the cancerous cells, leaving behind the healthy cells. And that is what we call targeted drug delivery. I strongly believe that together we can help combat tumor hypoxia and therefore enhance cancer therapy. I am ensuring that families all over Africa and all over the world do not have to suffer the same pain that I went through. I, ladies and gentlemen, your superhero, Luto.
Keep it going for Luto. Luto, join me, join me. Judges, Luto is creating a car that is delivering Mr. Oxygen and Mr. Treatment. Judge Timile.
Thank you very much, Luto. I think you like driving cars. I really say that. And I hope you're not fast.
I am actually fast.
A good sense from your talk. In terms of the oxygen that you are sending in there, put it into the car, how does it get ultimately to be in that little nanoparticles that you talked about?
Also, oh, sorry. Yeah, so we first synthesize hemoglobin nanoparticles because hemoglobin is an oxygen carrier, of course. So in that way, the hemoglobin nanoparticles will be incorporated alongside with the cancer treatment into liposomes. The liposomes will help to target the specific cell. However, the hemoglobin nanoparticles are the ones that are carrying the oxygen.
Thank you so much. Lovely.
Thank you.
Testing our biology there, Luto. Colleagues, we are moving on to our next speaker, Musa Aminu, a final year PhD student at Nelson Mandela University, channels his personal journey of 15 years of sobriety into addiction neurosciences. His research explores how cannabis affects the brain and identifies genetic vulnerabilities, aiming to inform public health policy while bridging research with science communication. Over to you, Musa. Give him a wonderful round of applause.
Can you hear me? Thank you. I think I'll start with a story. So a few years ago, I was at a drug policy conference where researchers discussed cannabis legalization policy, prison reform, job opportunities, economic benefits. All of these sounded exciting, except I sat there conflicted because prior to being at this conference, you see, I had to check my cousin into a drug treatment facility. My cousin had come down with psychosis associated with his cannabis use. He was detached from reality. He had become a danger to himself and, of course, to the people around him. This, ladies and gentlemen, is my cousin's unique cannabis story. Guess what? I also have a cannabis story. For 10 years, like my cousin, I struggled. Fortunately, today, I am 15 years sober. And this is what inspires my research. Experts say only 1 in every 10 persons who uses cannabis will come down with problems. The scientist in me agrees with them. Unfortunately, I am that 1 in 10 persons. They say we carry special genes that make us vulnerable. And of course, when I say genes, I don't mean the pants I'm wearing. I mean tiny biological spaces where information about the entire human body is carried and told as stories from one generation to another, including stories about vulnerabilities, like in the case of my cousin and I. Now, it will be another 5 years from that drug policy conference before I will have my first eureka moment. My team and I had ethically exposed mice to the different parts of cannabis, trying to understand what part of the plant causes this mind-altering effect that causes problems. And indeed, THC, the supposed poster boy for cannabis, caused addiction-like behavior in my mice. And when we look closely at the brain, particularly the parts of the brain that are responsible for decision-making, that's the prefrontal cortex, and the parts that are responsible for memory and learning, that's the hippocampus, we discovered the presence of these genes. My first reaction to this, of course, not to sound like an alarmist. No, our policymakers need to hear about this. You see, Africa cannot afford to legalize cannabis without paying attention to whom it may harm. The big question then is, how then do we go about identifying these individuals who are vulnerable? Do we go from door to door, knocking, asking exactly who's got the special genes? Of course, that's going to be ridiculous, my friends. This is exactly where my research comes in. It seeks to empower doctors to practice medicine more precisely, paying attention to these genetic vulnerabilities, like in the case of my cousin and I. That way they know for whom and when it is safe to use medical marijuana. It also seeks to empower policymakers to make policies that are rooted not only in economic benefits, but in the well-being of our communities, based on exhaustive scientific information like my research. This means a future where young Africans like myself are protected from slipping into addiction. It means a future where that 1 in 10 persons are not left behind. And this is the Africa I dream of. Thank you.
Another round of applause for Musa, ladies and gentlemen. Showing us the importance of why science communication should be given to policymakers, allowing them to make better informed decisions. Judge Dumi.
Thank you, and well done, Musa, for the beautiful presentation. Look, cannabis has been a topic for many years in South Africa, and I guess in Africa, to a point where, you know, we've been to courts, there's been appeals and appeals, there's been, I think, almost as far as constitutional court, if I'm not wrong. What I want to ask you is, what do you want to see happening, you know, from a policy point of view? What is it that you want to see? What is it that you want to make policymakers aware of? And ultimately, I guess, change their minds on the position they've taken as far as cannabis is concerned. From a policy point of view, what do you want to see happening going forward?
Thank you very much. That's a very important question. I mean, just like I said from the webinar before this session, I said I think of this platform as a very important platform for me because I'm already doing my science communication, which is to advocate for the kind of change I want to see. I want to see policies pay attention to that 1 in 10 persons. I know there's a lot of opportunity with cannabis, but from my research, what we have seen is that some individuals can actually be vulnerable. And we already have very fragile mental health infrastructure in Africa. And we don't want to continue contributing to that space that, you know, we could be thinking about other things to pay attention to. So what I want to see in terms of policy is that research is paying attention to that 1 in 10 persons, and all stakeholders, including policymakers, are in the same conversation, paying attention to that 1 in 10 persons. Thank you.
Maybe just a quick follow-up. I'm not exactly sure where we are as a country in terms of policies around cannabis, but is there perhaps a specific policy you would want to see reversed, I guess, and maybe reworked as by Parliament or whoever makes policies in the country? Is there one specific policy that you think it was not well thought out and you think it needs to be reversed?
And this is like on a national broadcast, right?
Yes.
I guess I have to, I mean, it's my truth, so I have to speak it wherever. I think not to speak particularly to any policy, but to once again come back to everything I've said. Maybe this is a conversation we can have after this space, So we can get into the granular details.
No, thank you.
Another round of applause for Musa. Not just a science communicator, but also very diplomatic. Up next, ladies and gentlemen, I travel all the way to Bukoni Bupirima. Zoe Idemudia, a computer science honors student at Northwest University, took an unconventional path from biology to technology. Now focused on cybersecurity, she develops lightweight machine learning frameworks to detect phishing on mobile devices. Innovations aimed at making digital safety more accessible and protecting communities from online fraud. If you are a Temu and Shein fan like myself, pay attention and welcome. So
sorry, am I audible? Okay, perfect. We all have our guilty pleasures. Some love to binge Netflix. Others have a shoe collection. As for moi, I love online shopping. One click and boom, a cute outfit is on its way. And you know just when? I am so sorry. I gotta pick this call real quick. Just give me a second, okay? I have to pay for a parcel delivery. I've been ordering online a lot. I told you guys that. Okay, I need to put my credit card details. Thought I already did that. Sure, for customs. Let's do that real quickly. Send, perfect. But wait. Didn't I qualify for free shipping already? And hold on. Wait, what? And just like that, with a horrible sinking feeling, my information is now in the hands of a cyber criminal. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the unfortunate reality of thousands of South Africans. This is called phishing, where scammers send fake, yet convincing message pretending to be someone that you trust. Your bank, a delivery service, even a friend. And the worst part, they're getting better at it, especially on our smartphones. And we live our lives on our phones now, don't we? We shop, we bank, we chat, all through this small device in our pocket. Yet many security tools are still built for computers and simply do not work well on mobile. During the holidays, key December, when we're spending a lot more and very, very distracted, these phishing attacks skyrocket. We are left vulnerable, and that isn't okay. But what if we can change that? What if I told you our phones could be our own intelligent vigilance protectors that can detect these scams before they have a chance to fool you? That, ladies and gentlemen, is precisely what I'm building. I am developing machine learning models. Think of them as highly intelligent smart assistants for your phone that can detect these scams in real time and warn you. Using thousands of examples of both real and fake messages, I am training the system to learn the crucial difference. It is taught not only to look for those obvious telltale signs like shady web links and urgent requests, but the subtle linguistic cues and sender behavior patterns that may go unnoticed by us. And the key part, the system's meant to be fast, highly accurate, and incredibly lightweight, so it can protect your phone without slowing it down or draining your precious battery. So, do you remember that sinking feeling at the start, where a simple text turns sinister? Phishing can happen in a heartbeat. But imagine a future where you can shop online and send money without that fear. A future where your phone isn't just a smartphone, but it's a digital bodyguard, catching and snatching these scams before they have a chance to catch and snatch you. Because just like I love to shop online, every South African deserves to live, work, and connect digitally with confidence. Thank you.
Zoe is a girl about her order. Give her another round of applause.
Oh, very. Thank you.
Which judge are we at?
Yes.
to a girl about her order.
Oh, 100. I got take a lot on here too. It's a lot.
Thanks, Zoe. That was very nice.
Thank
It's-
you.
It's quite heartwarming to see young women in fields like you in.
Thank you.
I'm sure you also find it very exciting to do the work that you are doing.
Yes. I
So
do.
my question is actually very easy. We see these phishing tactics and you know, they differ all the time. I mean, they evolve very fast as well. I want you to tell us if there's any solutions that are tailored to specifically problems, phishing problems that the country, our country, is actually facing.
So currently, what I have discovered is that there are phishing, what's it called, frameworks that are available. The issue is when it's in a resource-constrained device. So while we can have apps that have these phishing available that you can download on there, my research was going further than that. That I'm thinking of people who are in the villages who may not have access to Wi-Fi, so on and so forth. There are there, but it hasn't been tailored for not having any, how do I explain it? Not having a system where it has to be connected to Wi-Fi. It's there, there's some that are there, but for South Africa particularly, no, I've seen mostly in the global north. That would be the US, Canada, so on and so forth, but not for South Africa.
So what's the difficulty? What would it take to actually have solutions that are specific for South Africa?
It has to also look at, we'll go further than just language. Right now, I'm just looking at English, but also incorporating phishing attempts with different languages as well too. That will be Zulu, Setswana, and so on and so forth. So it would take actually quite a lot because there would need to be a dictionary of all the different types of phishing attempts for South Africa that has already taken place within the last 5 years. So it's recent data. And that can then be utilized within the framework to just see how well it's able to detect. Because so far, machine learning can detect with English, but when you expand it to different, what's it called, the 12 languages that we have, it doesn't do it so well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Give her another round of applause. For that, message coming through. Zoe is making sure that we are covered. Ladies and gentlemen, we've reached the end. There's one more presenter, and we're going right to the winelands with Mbalenhle Ntuli. In sub-Saharan Africa, conditions like dementia or memory loss disproportionately affects communities. Mbalenhle, an MSc student at Stellenbosch University, studies orthopathology. Okay, so she'll tell us activity, the effects thereof on memory loss by using fruit fly models. Her research aims to advance understanding in cellular activity while promoting cost-effective, accessible neuroscience tools for local researchers. Your hands in mind, please welcome Mbalenhle, who's going to teach us about autopathogens.
Imagine feeling lost in a familiar place, the frustration of things that you know, slipping into the unknown. This is often the fear and the frustration of memory loss. But what if it didn't have to be this way? What if memory loss could be a thing of the past? That's the question driving my research. By using an ancestor to humans, flies. Yes, flies. You see, millions of years ago, humans shared a surprising connection with flies, meaning that today we share a majority of our genes with flies. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what makes flies one of the best animals to help us study and understand the human brain. We do this by zooming into the fly brain and mapping out how memory works with age, so we can pinpoint the moment when all of it begins to fall apart, so that we can take the necessary steps to correct it before that time. We do this mapping out by training the flies to link one smell with food Another smell with no food. We then put them in our eye maze to test to see if they'll remember this training. And afterwards, I know, it sounds like bloody work, but good things flies don't have blood, but they do have brains. Brains that we take out and study underneath the microscope to see how the cells in the brains are changing. You see, the cells in an animal's brain, including a human's brain, is hard at work. These cells store memory in the form of short-term and long-term memory, helping us remember where we left our car keys or that one best friend forever that we had in primary school. Secondly, all this memory storage will not be possible if the cells in our brains didn't do some spring cleaning now and then by collecting all the waste and throwing them into bins called autophago zones. These help the cells to keep running smoothly so you can keep storing memory and prevent all that brain fog. Now, on to the important question. So at what age can we expect this failure in memory storage and failure in cell cleaning to happen? To answer your question, we don't know yet. But what we do know is that we're not powerless. By starting today and doing simple habits like regular exercise, intermittent fasting, and getting enough sleep at night, these activities can help push yourself to keep cleaning and keep storing memory well into our old age. Because ladies and gentlemen, a future filled with memory, where the memories of our loved ones and our most cherished moments remain clear in our minds, is possible. And this is the future that I am fighting for. Thank you.
Another round of applause from Balente. And I'm sure with that knowledge that flies are our ancestors, there is one question on everybody's mind. To do or not to do? Judges, over to you.
Thank you so much for an engaging presentation. I loved how you and explained autophagism. Please say that for us again.
Autophagosome.
Autophagosome. Please explain it again. I heard it, but I love how you went through explaining what that is all about.
Yes. So an autophagosome is found in every cell in your body and also in your brain. Its function is to collect waste in the cell. And by collecting waste, it prevents any toxicity building up. And of course, if there's toxicity building up, then cells can die. That can be naturally in your body, but in the case of my research, in the brain. If cells are dying, then of course, neurons are not able to keep that connection of keeping your memory. Otherwise, that results in memory loss.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm gonna go out learning to talk about that. It's gonna be my new vocab.
Now say it, Doc. I'm sure you say it better than me.
No, I'm nervous. I won't say it.
Another, ladies and gentlemen, from Ballet. And well, there you have it. Our 10 finalists. Weren't they just amazing? You certainly did bring the passion. You brought the vibrancy and you brought the excellence in your presentations. We're extremely proud of you. And I do not wish to be in the chairs of our judges. At this moment, I'd like to invite you judges to please step out to go and deliberate. Please keep the gloves on, not off, on. A round of applause for our judges as they step out. May, please join me.
Another round of applause. They have a very difficult task to do. Please encourage them. Round of applause for our judges. Siama, what do you think? Did it go well?
I think it didn't go well. It went amazing.
Amazing. Do you smell an international winner lurking?
I smell a third South African international winner in the room, May.
Applause. And of course, we've given a round of applause to the judges for their work. And this is where your work begins. You've not been sitting here idly counting bubbles in the air. You've actually been a secret judge, right? We have a category, the audience vote. Shabnaz is going to skew on a QR code. You can now use your mobile device to vote for your favorite participant. A word of caution, on the site, you will be shown each participant's poster. You can only select one poster. If you think you're going to select another poster, you will nullify your previous choice. And to lock in your vote, don't forget to scroll all the way down and press vote, right? This will ensure that your voice is heard loud and clear, and we crown our audience choice this evening. Summer?
How does the audience online vote, ne?
The audience online, the QR code is the same. It's right there. There's also in the chat section of the YouTube channel, there is a link. They can simply press on that link. It'll take them directly to the voting platform and do the same. Use your vote wisely.
Remember, you only have one. This voting session will only be opened for 15 minutes. And that 15 minutes starts now.
It's time to put your faith in a friend.
While the judges deliberate and while we vote, I'd like for us to take this opportunity for everybody that joined us this evening to have a discussion about what the topics are that we spoke about. What stood out for you? What would you like more elaboration on? What sparked an interest in you? Any questions from the audience? You too, online, have an opportunity to ask a question to our top 10 finalists. And you can do that by simply typing into the chat box. So questions, comments, anything for discussion? I've got one up there. Please start by saying your name. Let's get to know you first.
Thank you very much. It's David Ngoboka, HSRC. So yeah, I see the current unfolding events in the country, especially in the water treatment plants and stuff, as we saw also the president promulgating the amendment for the SIU to concentrate with the water department treatment planting and stuff. So yeah, I think that thing calls for us also to be cautious and seek wise wisdom as we go along with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that comment. It wasn't a question for any of our speakers directly, but he emphasizes the importance of research in the water sector, as was also emphasized by the Minister of DWS. Any other comment from the audience? Any question from any one of our 10 finalists? There's a question there. I'm sure if you press the mic, it will come on. Please mention the speaker whose question you have.
What if I have 3 questions? Okay, I'll ask one now.
Let's start off with one.
So my question is to Musa. Is there a way of testing, so I know that there are places where people can buy cannabis products as a prescription. Is there a way to test who is sensitive to cannabis so that before they can be given cannabis, then they can test that their genes or their, I don't know, blood or genetic makeup is sensitive to cannabis, that it might cause them psychosis?
Okay, I need to come stage. Okay, thank you. I think this is a continuation of the conversation we were having prior to this. Thank you for the question, by the way. I think research is still very much at a very rudimentary level to be able to avail tools for us to be able to do like a quick test to ascertain these markers. But we know from more rigorous research processes that require extensive resources that the presence of certain genes in individuals make them vulnerable either to come down with psychosis or schizophrenia, as the case may be, or even depression and anxiety. So that being said, I don't think, as to the best of my knowledge, or at least in the context of Africa, research has advanced to be able to produce products or tools that allow us to do these quick, rapid tests to ascertain who's going to be vulnerable or not. But we do know that when you possess certain genetic markers or other chemicals in that context, chances are high that you'll come down with problems when you use cannabis.
Okay, one little follow-up. Do you think that with more research and maybe more funding to that type of study, in the future, it can be possible to have a quick test?
Absolutely. Like the question we were asked earlier, if I had ubiquitous amount of resources, what will I do with my resources? I think I'll put it into advancing the science beyond just the research, rigorous or intensive space to a place where we have tools that are accessible to the everyday people, especially the doctors. Thank you.
Sure. There's one there. Please just put on your mic and do not forget to say who your question is for.
Okay, my question is for Team Luther. Luther, I want to ask, can you explain what is artificial intelligence to someone who doesn't know artificial intelligence? Yeah, that's my question.
Oh, okay.
Asking Luther to explain what artificial intelligence is.
Okay, thank you very much. That's a very timely question. Once again, artificial intelligence is quite trending. So to simply put it, right, we have what we call human intelligence, right? We know human intelligence to be set up a certain way. People think at a certain, we expect them to to think at a certain rate and to reason at a certain scale, right? When we talk about artificial intelligence, right, we are leveraging the power of machines, right? The power of machines to amplify the capabilities of the human brain, right? So what we do is with artificial intelligence, you're simply training a model to be able to think faster, smarter. It's like I said, a super brain, right? So with this artificial intelligence, you can tailor different brains for different uses. In my case, I tailor mine in order to detect the early signs of what? Of hunger. However, because AI is quite broad, even in terms of types, different people use it for different things. So whenever you have to scale up human intelligence for a particular purpose, that's when you leverage artificial intelligence. So you're just using it to amplify the capabilities of what the human brain can already do. Just think of your brain, but then better, smarter, and faster, right? Okay.
Thank you. Any other question? There's one there. Please just put on your mic. Don't forget to say who your question is for.
Okay, good afternoon, colleagues. Oh, it's evening. My question is for Luto. Seeing that your research is inspired by a personal experience, I want to know if your research is about a specific cancer or it's cancer in general. Which type of cancer?
Thank you so much. No, it's not about a specific cancer. It's cancer in general. As a result, we are using different cell lines. So it's cancer in general. It's not a specific one. Yes.
Different cell lines. If can you just give us a more like a list?
Oh, okay. We are using the breast cancer cell lines currently. That is the MCF7s and the MDAs. And we were planning as well as on using the kidney cell lines. I'm not sure if we're still going to do that. But yes, we're not targeting a specific kind of cancer. Even the drug that we are using, which is 5-fluorouracil, basically it treats most kinds of cancer. Yes.
Okay, so okay, so the drug will just go to any cancerous cell in the body. It doesn't have it won't directly go to a breast cancer. It will just destroy any cancerous cell. Is that what you're trying to?
Okay, so we are trying to design it in such a way that it's going to target a specific cell type, or sorry, it's going to target only the cancerous cells in the body.
Regardless of the organ.
Sorry?
Regardless of the organ where the cancer is.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I think back.
Now you're tempting me to talk about our neighbors, which don't.
That he's sitting right behind you. We do not advocate for violence.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity to ask my question. So my question is to Jackie.
who spoke about biocontrol or in relation to controlling invasive alien species. I know what he shared with us is mostly assisting our other fellow countries in biocontrol, but here in the country, we also have a huge problem with invasive alien species. And since now he's in this space of science communication and so on, just want to hear from him if he plans to stay in this space and how he can help us communicate with our communities in terms of educating them around invasive alien species and the problems they have in the country. Because I'm from the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment, and this is one area we struggle with, especially communicating in our vernacular languages to our communities about these problems. Thanks.
Is this thing on? Okay, I think it's on. Thank you very much for that question. So I am part of the Center for Biological Control at Rhodes University. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. We basically specialize in using insects to control invasive species. And some of the invasives that we're looking at currently in South Africa are your water weeds like your water hyacinth, your water lettuce. We also are combating cactus, different species of cactus. And one other very important part of the organization is community engagement. Kim Weaver, which is responsible for all the community engagements that we do regularly, if not every term, goes into the community, speaks to different schools, have this kind of where we showcase what we do basically to the to high schoolers and actually teach them how to actually teach their families and their fellow villagers, I guess, for lack of better words. Yeah, so we are teaching people how to actually communicate that. And I feel like FameLab has also helped me to actually be better at those tasks where I talk to these kids. And I am planning to stick around in biocontrol, and hopefully soon with the skills that I have gathered from this project, I will be able to work on the invasives that we're facing as a country. I hope that's answering your question.
Thank you very much, Jackie. And thank you very much to the audience for all your participation. Thank you very much for all the questions that you posed to the 10 finalists. I see now that the judges are back. I hope you have not forgotten to interact with us at #FameLab on Instagram. Please tag Jive Media Africa in all your interaction. Ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause to welcome the judges back. Our last attempt at bribing you. Nay?
Welcome back. As the judges were walking in, by the way, I was just looking if all hairs are in place. I'm looking if Dumila's collar is still fixed. You know, this job is a wild job, right? So we'd like to welcome the judges back. We hope you had an informative conversation with our top 10 finalists. We're inviting you that after, during the networking session, you can engage them again. They're all active on social platforms. You can engage them there as well. But for now, before we get to that all-important moment, we are going to hand over to Mr. Robert Ingalls, is in the room with us, to come and offer a vote of thanks on behalf of the two partners, NRF SASTA and Jive Media Africa. Give Robert a wonderful round of applause as he makes his way to the stage. Robert, were you involved in the deliberations? Because you seem very pensive.
I'm pensive because the audience vote seems to have stopped working. So let's just see how they sort that out. I am really stunned by what you guys have delivered in the last hour. It's been magnificent to watch you grow as communicators even over the last couple of weeks. So just a massive, massive round of applause to all of you, from all of you. I think we know this is a competition, but what this really is a kind of training, baptism by fire and a training ground, and you'll walk away transformed. It's a different world you walk into, and congratulations for all rising to the challenge and meeting it, because you're all magnificent. Yeah. So it's really for me to give a huge thanks to all of the people who make this event possible. We are hugely grateful to the National Research Foundation for all of the support. and of course to NRF SASTA, without whose support over the last decade or 13 years now, this competition couldn't have continued and couldn't have made the significant impacts that it has made. We talk about research impact, and I think FameLab has definitely impacted many, many lives and many, many researchers and many people in the public. So a huge thanks to NRF and to SASTA. And then I'm going to quickly list some of the organizations who've supported us this year. Well, all of the organizations. We've got Rhodes University, we've got Northwest University, we've got Nelson Mandela University, Stellenbosch, Walter Sisulu, Wits University and the Genus Paleosciences Division, University of South Africa, the National Institutes for Theoretical and Computational Sciences, that's NITHIX, a faithful partner, Vaal University of Technology, MinTech, SANTHI, the Sub-Saharan African Network for TB and HIV Research, the Africa Health Research Institute, the University of Limpopo, and the University of KwaZulu-Natal, all of whom have contributed significantly to actually allow us to continue with this competition. So please, can I just give a large round of applause to them. And then I think I would be remiss if I didn't say a huge thank you to our judges. Thank you very much for creating the engagement with these researchers, for having those conversations, and ultimately for making a decision about who will travel to CERN to represent South Africa in the national final. So a huge thanks to you. We are very, very grateful, truly indebted to you. And then I think the last thing for me to say is a promotion of this competition for next year, the next round. And that is to say that anywhere where young researchers are busy acquiring the skills that they need to work in the lab and to work with their subject matter, we also need to be supporting them with the skills they need in order to engage people around their research so that change in the world can happen. And this platform creates that opportunity. So you'll see there'll be a link in the chat and there'll be a link on the screen, but it's an opportunity to get involved in this program. In fact, this year we have with 12 partners and about 25 or 30 researchers in each of those spaces. You see the top 10 amongst you now, but that's of about 350 people who are trained through this initiative in the year gone by. So for us, it's to really just say a huge thanks, and please do get involved in the opportunity to grow this initiative going forward. And once again, huge congratulations to all of you.
Thank you, Robert. Please don't leave the stage yet. We are going to now recognize the top 10. No one walks away empty-handed. You, of course, get your certificate of being a top 10. Let's give them a round of applause. We're also inviting Dr. Mosia back to the stage with Robert to just award our top 10 with their certificates. So as your name is being called out, please come forward and come and receive your certificate from our two FameLab partners. First up, Batsiba. A round of applause. Yes, you can just move off to the side. Nasipi. You guys can slowly make your way to the stage because you are in the order that you are sitting. Our partying physicist, Offense. Hey, they're not happy for these certificates. Lungeliche. Luther, not to be confused with Lex Luthor, the villainous supermind. Jackie. Luto. Musa. Zoe. Smart shopper. Zoe is, of course, a smart shopper. Mbali. Demo. Can everyone now scoot in? Tiamo and I will also join the picture. Should we call the judges? Can you join us now? Judges, can you please come and join us? Maybe we should form 3 rows, 3 lines. Can I have some people in the front? Do we start? Yes.
Where are we doing it?
Our focus point is here by the podium at the end of the picture.
That mine.
It's somebody's bedtime.
I can step a bit down here and then.
Another round of applause to everybody who participated today. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the winner of FameLab 2025 is, drum roll. Thank you very much for joining us. This has been such a wonderful evening, hearing from the 10 brilliant minds and 10 exceptional science communicators. Remember, all of you, if you want to partake in FameLab again next year, entrants are already open for the year 2026. We look forward to hosting you again next year, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity that all of you allowed us this year. And now, the moment we've all been waiting for, our judges have made up their mind. They have fought the good fight. There are no scars, there are no broken bones, and for that, we remain eternally grateful. Ladies and gentlemen, may I please request Dr. Benjamin to join me on stage as I announce the winners. A round of applause for Dr. Benjamin. Now, for real, for real, for real, the moment we've all been waiting for. Our second runner-up for the 2025 South African FameLab National Finals is Jackie, you can do better than that. Another round of applause for Jackie. In the event where the winner of FameLab 2025 is unable to represent the country in CERN, the first runner-up takes over that responsibility. The first runner-up for the 2025 FameLab South African National is, drumroll, you can do better than that. Well done, Luther. At this moment, I'd like to thank the judges for all their hard work. I'd like to thank the audience for being an amazing group of people. I'd like to thank all the participants and all the finalists that took part in today's competition. It's been an absolute honor getting to know each and every one of you and getting to know the science that you communicate and the research that fascinates you. Nay, anything you'd like to say?
Still around the season with you, Tiamo, and the other trainers. And thank you for everyone for coming and participating. I hope to join them again in 2026. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of FameLab South Africa 2025. A very big check. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll see you again next year for FameLab.